If you are thinking about moving to the Chapel Hill area here in the Triangle in North Carolina, this video is for you today. We're going to hit some of the pros and cons and just some general talking points about Chapel Hill, so stick around.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the channel, or welcome back. I'm Zach. This is my beautiful wife, Cindy. If you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button in the corner. You can also hit the bell to be notified of every time we release a new video. That number on the screen, we put it there because we are licensed real estate brokers in the area. So if you have any questions about real estate or any questions about the area, we'd love to chat with you. So feel free to reach out. Like Cindy said, today's video is on the pros and cons of Chapel Hill in 2022. So with all that being said, let's dig in. All right, just a couple things before we get into those pros and cons, just a little bit about Chapel Hill. So Chapel Hill is one of the three anchor points of the Triangle. So you have Raleigh, you have Durham, and you have Chapel Hill. Sometimes you hear this place called Raleigh-Durham Chapel Hill. Most of the time, it's Raleigh-Durham or something along that. But you know, Chapel Hill is the smallest of those anchor points. So the population in Chapel Hill is 61,000, I believe is what Google kicked out, which is significantly smaller than Durham and significantly smaller than Raleigh. Even if you compare it to one of Raleigh's like suburbs, like Cary, for example. Cary's a really popular place for people to move. Cary's population, I think it was like 169,000 or something along those lines. So Chapel Hill is significantly smaller, even than some of the suburbs of Raleigh. And so that kind of puts it in perspective from, it's a major part of the Triangle, but from a population standpoint, it's a pretty small area. And then Chapel Hill is split up between several counties. So part of Chapel Hill is in Orange County. That's probably what you're most familiar with. A small portion of it's in Durham County. And then part of it is in Chatham County as well. So yeah, I guess we'll dig into the pros and the cons.
Yeah, so the pros of Chapel Hill, we'll get started with the pros. So I think an interesting pro to it is there's a lot of, I guess you could say, like diverse living options. So, you know, you have homes that are kind of close together. You've got townhomes and things like that. But there's also a very rural feel in parts of Chapel Hill, on the very north side and the very south side. So sometimes you're driving, you're like, am I still in Chapel Hill? And you are. But, you know, it can be like really just beautiful countryside, which I think is cool. Yeah,
there's a lot of like countryside in Chapel Hill. And so, you know, as far as like diverse living spaces, like if you watch like, you know, videos of Chapel Hill, or you see portions of Chapel Hill downtown, like, you know, it gives off that kind of, I guess, small town / city vibe to it. But Chapel Hill is like, there's a lot of country space in Chapel Hill. Some really beautiful areas. So you can get farmland. Like it's really nice. It's a really neat area. It is,
which is cool. So that's kind of a pro. In addition to that, like Zach had mentioned earlier, the Chapel Hill does go into 3 different counties. It's mostly in Orange County, but there are parts that are in Chatham County, and then parts that are little bit in Durham County, and then Orange County. And so because of that, something you have to be mindful of is your taxes and things will be different depending on what county you live in, and then the school districts will be different depending on counties, because in North Carolina the school districts are typically done by county, not every time. Chapel Hill being one exception, because it is within Orange County, but they do have their own Chapel Hill City school system, and then Orange County has its own schools, Chatham County has its own schools, Durham County has its own schools, so just something to be mindful of. But another big pro of Chapel Hill is the schools. The main Chapel Hill schools, the Chapel Hill Carborough is the name of the district, is actually, according to niche.com, the #1 school district in North Carolina. So they take different things into account for that, but definitely impressive. Chapel Hill itself is an extremely educated place, so if that's something you value,
Yeah.
That probably goes into why the schools perform as well as they do,
Yeah.
because it's just part of the family culture there. But Chapel Hill, it has a huge university right there, and a lot of the people that live there are connected to the university in some kind of way. So, education is just a big part of the culture there for sure. So schools are great there. And even if you don't land in that Chapel Hill school district and you decided on the Chatham County side or the Orange County side, also 2 great school districts. So you really can't go wrong anywhere in Chapel Hill with schools, which is really cool.
And that's schools are a huge draw to Chapel Hill. And talking about schools, we have a contact for a school consulting company. So if schools are important to you and that's a main contributor to where you want to end up in the triangle, we'd love to connect you with her. So feel free to reach out for that. But yeah, schools in Chapel Hill are absolutely top notch.
Definitely.
The next pro we'll talk about is access to the rest of the triangle, or to amenities in the triangle. So Chapel Hill has that. It's a little further, like if you're looking at a map, like it looks a little further out, but there's some road systems that will connect you to other parts of the triangle pretty quickly. As far as amenities go, I mean, there's things that Chapel Hill has that Durham doesn't even have. I'm thinking mainly of like Trader Joe's. I tried
the main thing. We were trying
I tried to build a list, and I was like, I can only think of like Trader Joe's. I'm sure that Wegmans.
Yeah, Wegmans.
Wegmans.
Yeah,
like they're. Which blows my mind. Chapel Hill is so small.
And they get
Durham,
Trader Joe's.
Yeah, and Durham is so big. And
can you tell we live in Durham and we're a little bitter that we don't have Trader Joe's?
I don't understand. Anyway, like those, like Chapel Hill gets nicer things, which really frustrates me sometimes. And so, but you have access to those. This is a video about Chapel Hill. So I want to build Chapel Hill up, but you have access to some of those amenities, whereas I guess in Durham you don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Durham is bigger, so there are more like big box retailers, but there are cool things that are right in Chapel Hill, and they have what you need. I mean, you can drive easily into Durham because there's a highway called 15501. Some people call it University Drive. It'll cut you between Durham and Chapel Hill. So there's a segment there where you like pass over the highway where you're like going from Durham to Chapel Hill, and it's kind of blurry if you're like in Durham or Chapel Hill. So, you have quick access to like Target in Durham and stuff like that. Technically, there's a Target now in Chapel Hill on Franklin Street, which is like the University Street, but it's like a little mini Target.
Yeah, that was like the one thing Durham had them beat on.
Yeah.
But anyway, so access to amenities is a big deal in Chapel Hill, and they have that. So now on to the cons. The first con I want to talk about is price points. So Chapel Hill is one of the most expensive areas in the triangle.
Very
so it is in relation to the rest of the triangle. It is significantly more expensive. So the average home in Chapel Hill is in the upper 6s, and if you pull out attached homes, so you pull out condos and you pull out townhomes, that number jumps all the way up to the lower 8s. And so I mean, that is a significant difference compared to Durham or compared to Raleigh. And so the price point of entering into Chapel Hill is so much higher than it is in the rest of the triangle. I don't know if it justifies that. I don't know if it does. Like I love Chapel Hill. I just don't know if it that's my honest opinion. I just don't know if it justifies.
Depends on what you're looking for. I mean, if you're looking for Chapel Hill itself, I would consider the culture to feel very academic, kind of artsy in a way, cultured and educated. So if those are things that you really value, and obviously the school system, then it could totally be worth that. And the homes there are really interesting. Like,
they are.
It's different. Like when you're driving around,
and places like Governor's Club bring up that average because it's a massive luxury neighborhood.
Right. So there are opportunities.
But if you look at a place like Cary where price points are high as well, like I feel like Cary can kind of justify some of those price points, but I just don't know if Chapel Hill can. But I think that's the main con I think about Chapel Hill. Con number 2 and the last con is, and we mentioned this before in some other videos about Chapel Hill, but Chapel Hill is in the true sense a college town. And so if you go downtown Chapel Hill and it's, spring semester or fall semester, it's going to be dominated by college students. And so I mean, it's not to some that may not be a big deal, but to others, you know, maybe you don't want to live in a college town. It's not like a trashy college town. Like I mean, you can tell from the price points, like it's a very upscale area. The neighborhoods are very upscale. So it's not like a trashy area by any means. But yeah, like it's, you know, if you go downtown Durham or downtown Raleigh, you know, it's not dominated by the college scene, even though there's two massive universities in both of those areas.
Yeah.
You have Duke and Durham, you have NC State and Raleigh. But if you go downtown Chapel Hill, that is, I mean, it is a university.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's con number 2. Thanks so much for watching today's video on the pros and cons of Chapel Hill in 2022. If you have not subscribed, like we said earlier, make sure to hit that subscribe button in the corner, and you can also hit the bell to be notified of every time we release a new video. That number on the screen, like we mentioned earlier, we put it there because we are licensed real estate brokers in the area, which means as much as we love to make these videos for you, we love to help you with your real estate needs even more. So feel free to reach out if you got any questions about the area, any questions about real estate. We love to chat with you.
Yes, and you can also follow along with us on Instagram. If you're an Instagram user, you can find us at The Honeycut Realtors. We'd love to have you follow along with us there. And you can also reach us at our website, thehoneycutrealtors.com.
Yep. And again, I just want to do a shout out for Cindy. Today is the due date, and the baby has not come, and it's 95 degrees, and Cindy is filming 2 videos, and it blows my mind because when I get a cold, I am like, even like a light cold, like it could be like borderline allergies, like we're not even sure if it's cold or not. I'm like,
one sniffle.
I am out. I am done. And here's Cindy just crushing it. So anyway, very proud of her. And thank y'all for watching, and we will see y'all next time.